You ever hear the saying, money can buy you anything, except peace at home? Well, this is one of those stories. Because in a giant mansion on the edge of the city, lived a millionaire who had everything a man could dream of. Luxury cars, designer suits, a house so big, you could get lost inside of it. But for all his wealth, he had a problem money couldn't solve. Two little problems. Twin children. Everyone in town knew about them. And everyone knew, no nanny ever lasted more than a week. The twins weren't just mischievous. They were downright impossible. They screamed. They threw food at anyone who came close. They broke things just for fun. And every nanny who came and left crying, shouting, or swearing never to come back. Some said the children were cursed. Some said the millionaire was too cold to raise kids. And others whispered that the mother's absence had left wounds too deep for any child to heal. By the time this story begins, the mansion had already seen over 20 nannies come and go. Each one quit. Some after a week. Some after a single night. The millionaire was at his wits' end. Then, one rainy morning, another nanny arrived. But she wasn't like the others. She didn't wear a polished suit. She didn't carry expensive bags. She didn't even look nervous. She was a black woman. Her clothes were simple. Her shoes a little worn. But her eyes carried something that the millionaire hadn't seen in a long time. And something more: patience. "Why are you here?" the millionaire asked bluntly. He didn't even bother with polite introductions anymore. The woman looked him in the eye and said, "I heard your children need someone, not just to watch them, but to love them. That's why I'm here." The millionaire laughed bitterly. "Love? Lady, if you can last 1 week with those kids, I'll double your pay. But don't say I didn't warn you." She just smiled. "Try me." The mansion halls echoed with screams and crashing sounds. The twins were at it again, throwing toys, ripping books, chasing each other like wild animals. Most nannies walked in, tried to tame the chaos, and left in tears. But this woman? She didn't shout. She didn't bribe them with candy. She simply walked right into the storm. And instead of yelling, she sat down on the floor. Right there, in the middle of the mess. The twins froze for a moment, confused. Then, one of them threw a toy car at her. It hit her shoulder. She didn't flinch. She just looked at the boy and said softly, "You done? Or you got more?" The twins blinked. No one had ever reacted like that. When the second twin tried to kick over a chair, she clapped her hands once, sharp and loud. Both kids stopped in their tracks. And then, she did something unbelievable. She started telling them a story. A story about two little lions who thought they were the kings of the jungle. Until they realized that even lions needed someone to guide them. For the first time in years, the twins actually listened. If you believe discipline and love together can change lives, hit that like button now. The millionaire leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, ready to watch yet another disaster unfold. But something about the woman caught him off guard. Instead of fighting the children, she spoke to them. Not as if they were wild creatures, but as if they were simply hurt little souls. Of course, the calm didn't last. The twins weren't about to let some stranger walk in and take control of their kingdom. "Go away. We don't want you here," one shouted. "You're just like the rest, boring and stupid," the other chimed in. The woman's response? A slow smile. "You think I'm boring? Then prove it. Beat me at a game." The kids froze. Nobody ever challenged them. They were used to adults either punishing them or bribing them. "What game?" they asked suspiciously. She leaned forward. "Hide and seek. If you win, I'll leave. If I win, you have to listen to me for 1 hour." The twins grinned. This nanny was crazy. But they loved a challenge. The millionaire scoffed from the doorway. "Games? This is ridiculous. You'll be gone by morning." But the woman ignored him. She closed her eyes and began to count. 10, 9, 8. The twins scattered, giggling, their little feet thumping against the marble floor. They hid in impossible places, behind curtains, under furniture, even inside a giant vase in the hallway. But one by one she found them. Not by looking, but by listening. The soft giggle under the sofa. The tiny sneeze behind the curtains. The wiggle of toes sticking out from under the dining table. When she finally pulled them out, laughing, both twins looked shocked. "How did you do that?" they demanded. The woman only tapped her ear. "Because I listened. And if you listen to me, maybe you'll learn some secrets too." For the first time, the twins didn't argue. Later that evening, when the twins finally fell asleep, without a fight for the first time in years, the millionaire stood outside their door in disbelief. He turned to the woman. "How did you manage that?" he asked. "No one's been able to keep them calm for even an hour." She shrugged. "Children don't need control, sir. They need to be heard. They're not bad, they're just lost. The millionaire frowned. Her words hit him harder than he expected. Lost. Yes, maybe that was true. But he refused to admit it out loud. Instead, he muttered, "Don't get too comfortable. They'll break you by morning. They always do." The woman just gave a small smile. "We'll see." And sure enough, that night it happened. Screams erupted in the dark. The twins were awake, panicking, demanding their mother. No nanny had ever survived this moment. Usually, they'd call the millionaire in frustration, or worse, quit on the spot. But this woman didn't panic. She rushed into their room, knelt between their beds, and held both their trembling hands. "It's okay," she whispered. "You're safe. I'm right here." The children sobbed. "We want Mommy." The woman's eyes softened with sorrow. She knew their pain ran deeper than tantrums. So she didn't dismiss their feelings. Instead, she began to hum. A gentle, soothing lullaby. Not one from a book or a music box, but one passed down through her own family. Within minutes, the twins' sobs quieted. Their breathing slowed. And for the first time in months, they drifted back to sleep peacefully. The millionaire, watching silently from the doorway, felt a lump rise in his throat. He hadn't seen his children this calm since their mother left. If you believe patience and love can heal even the deepest wounds, tap the like button now. The next morning, the house staff could hardly believe their eyes. The twins, usually screaming, fighting, or throwing food, were calmly sitting at the breakfast table, eating pancakes. No shouting, no flying plates, no chaos. The millionaire, still half asleep, stopped dead in his tracks. What is this?" he muttered. One of the maids whispered. "Sir, they're behaving." The millionaire stared at the nanny, who stood nearby, sipping her coffee with a quiet smile. "How did you do this?" he demanded. She only shrugged. "Respect, sir. That's all children ever want." For days, the same miracle repeated itself. The twins began to laugh, but not cruelly, joyfully. They started listening to instructions, even saying please and thank you. The staff was in shock. The millionaire's friends thought it was a trick. But the biggest surprise came when the twins asked their father to join them for a board game one evening. He froze. "No, I don't have time for this," he muttered. But the nanny's eyes locked on his. Her gaze was firm, unyielding. "Maybe it's not about having time," she said softly. "Maybe it's about making time." The millionaire hesitated. Then, awkwardly, he sat down. That night, for the first time in years, the sound of genuine laughter filled the mansion. But the peace didn't last. One afternoon, the nanny overheard the twins arguing in their room. "Daddy doesn't love us," one whispered. "That's why Mommy left," the other replied. The words hit the nanny like a knife. She knew she had to tell their father. That evening, when the twins were asleep, she approached him. "Your children, they think you don't love them," she said quietly. The millionaire froze. "That's ridiculous. Of course I love them." "Then show them," the nanny replied. "Because right now they don't believe it." Her words cut through him like thunder. He realized his children weren't broken. He was. The next day, the millionaire's sister visited the mansion. A cold, sharp-tongued woman who had always disapproved of the twins. She sneered when she saw the nanny. "Another one? How long before this one runs away screaming?" But when she saw the twins behaving, polite, even respectful, her face twisted in anger. "This woman is filling their heads with nonsense," she snapped. "You're wasting your money keeping her around. Fire her before she ruins them." The millionaire hesitated. For years, he had always listened to his sister. But this time, he looked at the nanny. At his children. At the fragile hope he hadn't felt in years. "No," he said firmly. "She stays." The sister gasped. "You'll regret this," she spat, storming out of the house. But for the first time, the millionaire felt certain. He had chosen right. If you believe love can transform even the hardest hearts, type yes in the comments below. That night, after the twins fell asleep, the nanny found herself walking through the garden. The millionaire joined her. "You've done something I thought was impossible," he said quietly. "You've brought my children back to me." There was a softness in his voice that hadn't been there before. A vulnerability. A gratitude he didn't know how to express. The nanny simply smiled. "They were never gone, sir. They were just waiting for you to notice." The two stood there in silence, under the glow of the moonlight. Something unspoken passed between them. The beginning of trust. And maybe, something even deeper. Weeks passed. The mansion, once filled with chaos and bitterness, now glowed with laughter, music, and warmth. The twins blossomed. The staff smiled again. And the millionaire himself looked 10 years younger. But just when it seemed like everything was finally falling into place, a storm arrived. Late one evening, while the nanny was tucking the twins into bed, the millionaire received a phone call. It was his lawyer. "Sir, your sister has filed a petition. She's claiming you're an unfit parent. She wants custody of the twins." The millionaire's face drained of color. He had been rebuilding his life piece by piece, and now his own family was threatening to tear it apart. The next day, the sister stormed into the mansion with papers in hand. "You can't raise those children," she sneered. "You can't even take care of yourself. I'll do what's best for them." The twins overheard. Terrified, they clung to their nanny. "Don't let them take us," they cried. The millionaire, for once, didn't shout, didn't argue. He simply said, "You'll have to fight me first." The case went to court. The sister painted the millionaire as irresponsible, absent, incapable. The judge listened carefully, and when it was the nanny's turn to testify, the courtroom held its breath. She stood tall, her voice steady. "Your Honor, when I arrived, these children were broken, angry, lost. Everyone gave up on them, but not their father. He made mistakes, yes, but I've seen his heart. I've seen his change, and I've seen the love he carries for them. He is not unfit. He is their father." The courtroom fell silent. Then, to everyone's shock, one of the twins stood up. His little voice trembling, he said, "We don't need another mommy. We just need her, and Daddy." Tears filled the millionaire's eyes. The judge looked over the papers, then slammed down the gavel. "Case dismissed. Custody remains with the father." That night, the mansion was alive with celebration. The staff cheered. The twins danced. The millionaire raised his glass to the nanny. "You saved us," he said, his voice breaking. "I thought I hired you to care for my children, but you cared for all of us, including me." The nanny smiled softly. "I only reminded you of what you already had." But then, something unexpected happened. The millionaire took her hand. "I don't want this to end. Not just for them, but for me. Stay. Not as their nanny. Not as my employee. Stay as part of this family." The staff gasped. The twins shouted with joy. And for the first time in years, the millionaire allowed himself to feel something he thought he had lost forever: love. Months later, a letter arrived in the mail. It was from the lawyer. Inside, the millionaire found the last will and testament of his late wife. In it, she had written, "Find someone who will love our children not for what they are worth, but for who they are. Only then will this family be whole again." The millionaire looked at the nanny and realized this was exactly what she had done. The family, once broken beyond repair, was whole again. Not because of money, not because of power, but because one woman dared to believe in love, respect, and second chances. And from that day forward, the mansion was no longer just a house of wealth. It was a home,